Okay, so you want that quintessential Mediterranean fantasy. You're picturing it, right?
Yeah.
The sleek lines of the super yachts. You see that water, that impossible crystalline water that looks exactly like the Maldives.
Mm.
And you're craving that promise of exclusivity, something that feels less like a crowded coastline and more like a private ancient island escape.
Mm.
Naturally, your mind goes to Sardinia.
And that imagery is exactly what the island has perfected. It's known as the Island of the Emerald Coast. And the marketing is, I mean, it's just so precise.
Right.
When you look at the sources, they all confirm it. Sardinia is ancient, it's wild, and when you step off the plane, that smell, that really specific, intoxicating scent, it's this mix of myrtle, wild thyme, salt, and like scorching hot granite. It's absolutely unlike anywhere else.
And travelers always say it has the most beautiful water in all of Europe.
They do. It's a consensus.
Okay, so that's the dream. And that dream, that, sheer natural beauty, is precisely what's driving this extremely high premium price tag. The question, and really the mission of this deep dive, is whether that investment is actually justified.
Yeah.
We need to unpack this. Is Sardinia worth the premium, or are you just paying for the hype and, the Instagram shot?
We need to give you a really clear, unvarnished look at the logistical reality of it. We're treating Sardinia, as our notes say here, as a continent masquerading as an island.
I like that. A continent masquerading as an island.
Its sheer scale and its complexity are what make it so alluring, but also, and this is critical, so incredibly difficult to navigate as a traveler. We're going to determine definitively if this high-effort destination gives you a genuinely high reward.
And to save you time and maybe some potential disappointment, we're going to dive right in with the 3 big initial surprises. These are the counterintuitive things that the sources point out that they fundamentally challenge that standard luxury idea.
You need to know these right up front.
Right.
They shape the entire trip.
It's
surprise number 1, and this is probably the most critical one for anyone who loves food. If you are chasing the absolute best, most authentic food on the island, you have to go inland.
away from the coast.
Away from the coast.
Yeah.
That incredible historic cuisine is found deep in the mountains, away from all the expensive coastal restaurants with the big views.
Wait, hold on. I need to pause there because that's huge. You're telling me that the person paying, $4,000 a night at a 5-star coastal resort is probably eating worse food than the person who just drove 20 minutes inland to a farm?
Logistically, yes. The sources are completely unanimous on this. The coastal restaurants, they're selling the view, they're selling the ambiance. The inland agriturismos, they're selling generations of culinary tradition.
An unbelievable quality.
At a fraction of the cost. It is the clearest value disparity we saw, by far.
Wow, that makes the second surprise even more mind-blowing than, especially given the cost of the hotels.
Right.
Number 2. You can pay upwards of $2,000 a night for a high-end hotel in that famous Costa Smeralda zone, but you might still have to walk 15 or 20 minutes just to get to the nearest beach.
It's not beachfront.
No. You're paying a huge premium for a view, for discretion, for a name, not necessarily for convenience or, effortless beach access.
And the third surprise is purely practical, but it's essential if you're thinking of a shoulder season trip. The luxury season in Sardinia is shockingly short.
What do you mean by short?
I mean, if you show up in late September, especially in October, you risk finding a ghost town.
Mm.
Many of the high-end hotels, the restaurants, all the amenities that justify that prestige, they just shut down.
Oh.
Almost with the startling efficiency right after the summer rush. It leaves the area feeling really desolate.
So we've laid out the tension, we've given you the initial shock factors. Today, our scope is going to be dissecting this trip from the absolute, I have a yacht and a private driver budget, all the way down to the smart luxury traveler.
The one who uses the hacks to maximize value.
Exactly. We're going to cover logistics, those specific travel traps, especially the ones that hit your wallet like car rentals. And then at the end, we'll give you a clear, data-driven verdict on the value proposition of this massive, breathtaking island.
Let's do it.
The allure of Sardinia right now is incredibly powerful. It really seems to stem from a global shift in how people want to travel. What's driving this appeal right now?
It's largely what our sources are calling the antidote effect. Sardinia is really capitalizing on this general exhaustion with overcrowded destinations. We're seeing the influence of high-end media, you can call it the White Lotus effect, but the real driver is just how packed traditional luxury spots have become. Think about the Amalfi Coast, Positano, Capri.
Right.
Traveler feedback now describes that experience as being shoulder to shoulder with thousands of cruise shippers.
You completely lose that luxury feeling, which is really all about space and privacy, when
Yeah.
you're elbow to elbow with a huge crowd waiting for a boat taxi. So Sardinia is being marketed as the exclusive, spacious alternative.
hmm
The promise is you get that glamour, you get that beauty, but with physical distance.
And to understand the glamour, you have to understand where it came from. That expectation of um, absolute hyper luxury isn't an accident. It's man-made.
Yeah.
And it's confined almost entirely to the Costa Smeralda, the Emerald Coast up in the Northeast.
This wasn't some organic fishing village that just got popular over time.
Not at all. This zone was literally conceived and built from scratch by Prince Karim Aga Khan IV back in the early 1960s.
And that detail is so crucial because it explains the entire vibe of that area. The prince took the stretch of wild, rugged, completely uninhabited coastline, there was no infrastructure there at all, and turned it into a purpose-built playground.
Yeah, the sources really detail the immense investment it took to create places like Porto Cervo and Cala di Volpe. It was this singular vision of perfect, engineered glamour, designer boutiques lining the marinas, hyper-exclusive clubs, Ferraris as the standard car.
So that project basically established the global expectation for what Sardinian luxury is.
But here's the friction point, the big one. The geographic and cultural whiplash. That glamour zone, the Costa Smeralda, it's a meticulously curated bubble. It's a tiny fraction of the island.
Like what percentage are we talking?
Maybe 1 or 2% of the landmass. The other 98% of Sardinia is just fundamentally different, geographically and culturally.
We're talking about an island that is incredibly rustic, rugged, agricultural.
If you drive even just 20 miles inland from Porto Cervo, the whole landscape transforms. It's suddenly dominated by these harsh, ancient granite formations, huge expanses of scrubland, cork forests, and maybe most of all, sheep.
And historically, that interior region, the Barbagia, was known for being pretty lawless, right? Remote and famous for bandits.
Exactly. And that's the source of this schizophrenic vibe. On one hand, you have the sterile, high-gloss perfection. In Porto Cervo, one article called it Disneyland for oligarchs.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's manicured, it's predictable, but then you drive into a village deep in the mountains and you find this gritty reality where nobody speaks English, grandmothers are making pasta by hand in the doorway, and life revolves around farming, not super yachts.
And as a traveler, you really have to embrace that dual identity. If you just stay in the glamour bubble, you get the perfection you paid for, but you're going to feel like you missed the soul of the island.
And if you venture out, you have to be prepared for rougher infrastructure, less predictable services, and the absolute silence of rural life. Expecting the ease of Rome or the aesthetic of Florence everywhere is just a recipe for disappointment.
And that gets to the island's identity. It's so important to remember that Sardinia is an autonomous region of Italy. They have this fierce sense of cultural independence.
They consider themselves Sardinian first, Italian second. And that isn't just a point of pride, it has practical implications. You shouldn't arrive expecting standard mainland Italian customs or, bureaucratic norms.
That distinction, Sardinian first, is woven right into the landscape itself. The ruggedness isn't some undeveloped area waiting to be manicured. It's the natural state. It's an island of silence, of stone, of wild exposure.
And that exposure includes some pretty serious environmental factors that can dictate your whole day.
Like the wind.
The most famous is the Mistral wind. This powerful, dry, often cold wind blows in from the northwest, and it can arrive with literally zero warning. We saw so many accounts of it just ruining beach days instantly. It whips up the sand so intensely you can't lie on the beach, and it turns that beautiful blue water all choppy.
And boat trips get canceled.
Often.
So if your travel goal is high energy, VIP nightlife, you need to know that outside of the very specific, hyper-exclusive parties in August in Porto Cervo, the island is fundamentally low energy.
You have to be prepared for silence. If your goal is to disappear and feel completely small against this immense scale of nature, then that silence is perfect. But if you want a constant party buzz, you're going to find most of the island pretty boring after dark.
Okay, let's shift from the vibe to the practical logistics, getting your feet on the ground, those first impressions. For most luxury travelers, the gateway is Olbia, airport code OLB, which serves the Emerald Coast.
And the moment you arrive is this brilliant piece of psychological framing. Even if you're on a low-cost flight, the first thing you see when you taxi in is the massive, pristine private jet terminal.
Right.
It's this immediate, unambiguous visual signal.
Yeah.
This is a place for people with serious money. and that sets the tone for the rest of your trip.
The initial climate shock in the summer is also pretty significant. The heat is dry, it's searing, it's relentless. But logistically, Olbia Airport itself is kind of a mixed bag.
It is. It's small, which is fantastic. It's so easy to navigate. You fly right through baggage claim, which is a huge bonus compared to the chaos of Rome Fiumicino.
Yeah.
But the immediate logistical hurdle hits you right after customs, the cart rental process. Olbia is efficient, but the major rental agencies often make you take a separate shuttle bus to get to their facility. Or at best, it's a long, hot walk with your luggage.
It just immediately complicates what you hoped would be a smooth, luxurious start.
Yeah.
But once you've dealt with that and you step outside into the heat, that first sensory experience is just, it's intoxicating. It defines the island. It's the powerful, unique smell of the maquis.
The maki.
Well,
It's the local name for the dense, wild scrubland vegetation. It's this powerful, almost aggressive fragrance. A dense blend of wild rosemary, juniper, prickly pear, and especially potent wild thyme, all mixed with the smell of sun-baked earth and salt.
it's the immediate confirmation that you are far from any concrete jungle. That smell alone sells the wildness of the island.
It really does.
Now, here's where travelers often get a little discouraged in the first 30 minutes. Our sources are brutally honest about the initial drive from Olbia towards the Costa Smeralda. You have to steel yourself because it is not instantly beautiful.
No, it's really not. You're looking at dusty, often industrial roads, scrubland, maybe a few unfinished warehouses.
Yeah.
That money-shot view of the turquoise sea, it doesn't appear right away.
It takes patience.
It takes about 30 minutes of driving north before the landscape finally opens up and you start to climb.
But the visual reward, once you reach the coast around places like San Pantaleo or Golfo Aranci, is staggering. The quality of light changes completely. The ancient granite rocks catch the sunset and turn these soft pinks and oranges, and then boom, there it is, the water.
And we mean the water. It's that impossible electric shade of turquoise that is almost disorienting. Travelers consistently say it looks Caribbean, not Mediterranean. It's shallow coves reflecting white sand, creating a look that justifies every single postcard you've ever seen.
That beauty, though, comes with a serious high-stakes challenge. The driving. We saw repeated warnings about this.
Yeah.
The roads, once you leave the main highway, are incredibly narrow, winding, and the local drivers who know every curve drive aggressively and fast.
Our notes warn listeners, please avoid the ego decision of renting a massive luxury SUV like a Range Rover just to match the vibe. You will immediately regret it. Maneuvering a huge vehicle on a road that's barely wide enough for one car when a truck comes roaring around a blind corner is a recipe for high stress, deep scratches, and serious trouble, especially with the insurance traps we'll talk about later.
And the luxury aesthetic reflects that reality. The architecture is all about discretion. You don't see towering Vegas-style resorts.
No, the high-end hotels and villas are mandated to be low profile, built seamlessly into the landscape using local stone and terracotta. They favor discretion and blending in. You often don't even see the most expensive villas from the road.
Which respects the landscape, but it also reinforces that point that Sardinian luxury is often about isolation, not easy access. They prioritize the private view over the easy walk to the beach.
Exactly.
Okay, now we have to address the core issue, the price tag. We need to dissect the costs of peak season July and August and make a cold, hard assessment of the value you're actually getting for your money.
Let's break down the accommodation tiers, starting at the very top. If you want true brand name luxury, the original flagship hotels like Cala di Volpe, Romazino in peak season, you are firmly in the realm of $2,500 to $5,000 per night.
Per night. That's the entry point.
That's the entry point.
And the value assessment there is pretty brutal. Is it worth it? Our sources indicate often no.
Definitely not. You're paying a massive premium for the name, the history, the view, but the rooms are frequently reported as being dated.
Dated how?
We saw multiple accounts noting the decor hasn't been meaningfully updated since the late 90s. The Wi-Fi might be spotty. The service isn't always comparable to modern luxury standards in, say, Asia. You are paying for real estate and brand equity. That's it.
Okay, so dropping down a notch to mid-range luxury, a stylish boutique hotel, a high-end Airbnb with a pool in the Northeast. What are we looking at there?
You're still spending a substantial $600 to $1,000 a night. This is where the price starts to align more with recognizable quality, but it's still very demanding.
So the sweet spot, what we're calling smart luxury, requires a little sacrifice in location, but a big payoff in savings.
Right. You need to look slightly inland, maybe a 15-minute drive from the beach, or go further south to quieter areas like Costa Ray.
Mm.
Here, the rates for lovely properties drop to around $250 to $400 a night.
That's where the price really starts to align with expectations.
It does. And for groups or families, the ultimate hack is to just bypass hotels entirely. Rent a beautiful villa that sleeps six for, say, $5,000 a week. That works out to less than $120 per person per night.
That's unequivocally better value than 3 separate hotel rooms at $1,000 a pop.
No question.
And the food, as we hinted, has the clearest cultural and financial split. Let's contrast the coastal dining with the inland experience.
Okay.
Coastal dining in a hotspot like Puerto Cervo can easily run you $300 or more per person.
And what are you paying for? You're paying for seafood priced by the gram while you stare at mega yachts. The view is 70% of the cost. The food is often very good, but it's rarely true 10 out of 10 culinary excellence.
It's designed for international palates.
Exactly. Not authentic Sardinian tradition.
This is where the agriturismo hack becomes absolutely essential. This requires driving about 20 minutes inland, finding a working farm that's opened its dining room to the public, and they operate on a totally different model.
A fixed price. Usually only $50 to $70 per person.
And for that $50, you get this immense multi-course feast.
We're talking 3 different types of homemade pasta, local wine included, a huge serving of the legendary porcidu, that's roast-suckling pig local cheeses, dessert, coffee, a digestivo,
Wait, Mirto.
like a mirto, the local liqueur.
And the preparation of the porcidu is a whole thing in itself, isn't it? It's roasted over an open spit, infused with myrtle. The skin is crackling. The meat is just unbelievably tender.
And tasting it in the environment where it was raised and prepared is the ultimate reward. That specific experience, the agriturismo, is consistently described as 10 out of 10 value and the best, most authentic food on the entire island.
Okay, so now let's talk about the hidden killer of the travel budget, transport. Even if you nail the agriturismo and accommodation hacks, getting around is surprisingly expensive.
Aggressively expensive. Car rental prices in peak season are just astronomical. A standard automatic economy car like a Fiat Panda is going to run you a shocking $150 to $200 a day, minimum.
Wow.
And if you insist on that luxury convertible to match the vibe, you're looking at triple that, $400 to $600 a day. Easily.
And then you have to fill it up. Fuel in Italy is notoriously expensive.
We're talking about $8 per U.S. gallon for gas. And when you factor in the sheer amount of driving you have to do to explore that continent masquerading as an island, those gas bills stack up fast.
And then after the rental and the gas, the final sting is parking. You can't just pull up to the best beaches. You have to pay for official parking, which is often $20 to $40 a day.
It's death by 1,000 cuts.
For sure. Moving to activities, enjoying the water is also highly monetized.
Mm-hmm. If you want a luxury lounger and an umbrella at a big beach club like Nikki Beach, the daily cost for 2 people is $100 to $300, and that's before you order the 15-euro bottle of water.
But the true must-do activity, the one that offers the best value for freedom, is renting a boat. You have to get on the water.
A self-drive small dinghy, a gumon, is surprisingly accessible, around $250 a day plus fuel, and that gives you the freedom to find your own private cove.
And if you want the full skippered yacht experience,
Then you're starting at $2,500 and going up, way up.
okay, let's synthesize this into a clear daily budget for a couple, excluding flights.
We see 3 distinct tiers of experience.
First, the billionaire cosplay tier.
That's $5,000 plus per day. You're staying at Cala di Volpe, eating only at high-end coastal restaurants using private transfers. You're paying for the brand name and zero hassle.
Then there's the realistic luxury tier.
That's about $1,500 a day. This assumes a mid-range luxury hotel, a decent rental car, you buy beach beds some days, and you balance one nice coastal meal with several casual ones.
And finally, the smart logistical traveler tier.
This is around $600 a day. You're leveraging the villa or B&B hack, cooking some meals, eating at agriturismos, and you opt for the self-drive boat for a day or two. You still get incredible quality, but you are actively working the logistics.
And the conclusion here is absolutely critical. That $1,500 plus price point is only justifiable if you value extreme convenience over authentic culture. If you're willing to drive inland 20 minutes for dinner, you can access 90% of the beauty and 100% of the best food for a fraction of the cost.
That's the key.
Which brings us to the planning traps. This is where smart, well-resourced people get tripped up. These are unique to Sardinia, and you have to avoid them.
Trap number one is the fundamental barrier. The distance trap. You can't overstate this. Sardinia is huge, and it takes a long time to get around its difficult terrain.
The sources warn that travelers make this rookie mistake of looking at a map and thinking, oh, I'll stay near Olbia and just take a day trip down to Caligularitze.
That is geographically delusional. That journey is a minimum of 2.5 hours one way through winding mountain roads. You're guaranteeing 5 hours in a car for one beach.
So what's the fix?
The fix is non-negotiable. You must pick a base, say, near Olbia, and stick to a maximum 45-minute driving radius. If you absolutely have to see both the north and the south, you must plan a 2-hotel itinerary. Do not attempt cross-island day trips.
Got it. Trap number 2 is the August trap, or Ferragosto.
If you have any flexibility at all, do not go to Sardinia in August. This is when all of Italy goes on vacation, and Sardinia becomes ground zero for stress and crowds.
What's the reality of that like?
It's miserable. Prices are doubled on everything. There are heavy traffic jams by 8:30 in the morning just to get near a beach. Service staff are exhausted and stressed. You could spend 2 hours in traffic just to find the parking is full and you have to turn back.
So the fix is timing. Go in June, or ideally September.
September is the golden month. The crowds are gone, the water is still incredibly warm, and you see an immediate price drop of around 30% on everything.
Okay, trap number 3 is the most surprising and maybe the most infuriating for luxury travelers. The beach reservation trap.
Yeah, Sardinia has implemented strict visitor caps, a kind of ticketing system, for its most famous beaches, like La Pelosa, Calabrandinci, and Calicaticcio.
And this is actually enforced. We saw that anecdote about the couple in their expensive convertible getting turned away from La Pelosa by a kid in a high-vis vest because they hadn't booked a slot online.
Your money means nothing. The digital ticket means everything.
So the fix is you have to treat this like buying concert tickets.
Exactly. You need to identify the regulated beaches, download the official apps like Heart of Sardinia, and book your entry slots, which are strictly capped up to 2 months in advance. Waiting until you get there is too late.
And my favorite trap, which just perfectly encapsulates the high-effort nature of this trip, is the towel police. You're telling me I can pay $4,000 for a room, rent a convertible, navigate crazy roads, book a beach spot 2 months ahead, and then get fined for a towel?
Yes, seriously. At certain beaches, most famously La Pelosa, there is a legitimate rule against putting your towel directly on the sand
What?
to combat sand theft. Tourists were carrying out large quantities of the pristine white sand on their wet towels, leading to measurable depletion.
Wow. So what's the fix for that?
It's simple and cheap, but you have to know it. You have to buy a woven straw mat that costs about €5 in a roadside stand. You keep it in your trunk, and you put it under your towel every single time. The mat catches the sand, not your towel.
Unbelievable. Okay, finally, connectivity, digital infrastructure.
It's deceptive. On the coast, near Olbia, 5G is decent. But the second you drive inland into the Barbegia region, you hit severe dead zones.
So you can't rely on live GPS.
No, the necessary fix is to download offline Google Maps for the entire island before you leave your hotel Wi-Fi. If you rely on Waze in those mountain passes, you risk losing signal and getting seriously lost.
The risks in Sardinia are unique. They aren't what most travelers are thinking about.
No. We need to distinguish between physical safety and logistical risks.
Right. Physically, Sardinia is incredibly safe. The sources say it has one of the lowest violent crime rates in Italy.
You feel very secure there. The real risks are logistical and environmental.
Risk 1, driving. We said it, but it can't be overstated.
The combination of narrow roads, fast locals, and distracted tourists, it leads to high-stress situations. The risk of head-on collisions on blind curves is real.
Risk 2, the heat. Summer temperatures frequently hit 40 Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit.
Travelers from cooler climates consistently underestimate this dry, searing heat. Heat stroke is a severe risk, especially if you try to hike down to a secluded beach at noon without enough water.
And risk 3, vehicular wildlife. It sounds odd, but it's dangerous.
Wild boars, singing owl, wander onto mountain roads at night. They are large and fast. Hitting one in a small rental car is a serious hazard. You really have to avoid driving on secondary roads after dark if you can.
And for the luxury traveler, we have to talk about comfort and accessibility hurdles.
Sardinia is tough terrain if you have mobility issues. Many of the best beaches require a sustained hike down steep, rocky, uneven paths. There are no elevators down the granite cliffs.
And many of the high-end hotels are spread out across hillsides, which means lots of stairs and long walkways between your room, the pool, and dinner.
If you need level access, Sardinia presents severe challenges.
There's also the sea view scam. Our notes warn that some hotels will claim a sea view when they're a mile away, and you can only see a tiny sliver of blue.
The check here is mandatory. Use a satellite mapping program like Google Earth to confirm the hotel's location before you book.
And finally, the mandatory advice that will save you arguments and money. The rental car insurance scam.
Okay, so when you get to the rental counter, they will press you aggressively to buy their supplemental zero-deductible insurance, specifically warning you about scratches from Sardinian brambles.
And you're saying they're not trying to cheat you?
They're not. They're being honest about a legitimate local hazard. The narrow roads are lined with these stiff, unforgiving bushes. When you have to hug the side of the road to pass another car, those brambles absolutely will scratch the sides of your car. The risk is endemic.
So what is the absolute non-negotiable fix?
You must purchase zero-deductible insurance. You can either get it through a third-party provider, which is cheaper, or you can buy it directly at the counter, which is more expensive, but guarantees a no-argument checkout. You have to avoid arguing about a 2mm scratch in Italian while you're trying to catch a flight.
Okay, we've covered the effort and the traps. Let's pivot to the rewards, the best moments, the truly unforgettable experiences that make it all worth it.
And it's so telling that the most memorable moments in our sources were explicitly found outside of that hyper-expensive bubble.
Right.
The first one centers on freedom and silence, and that's the boat rental. Renting a small self-drive boat, the Gammon, at a port like Calagonone gives you access to a coastline that is otherwise completely inaccessible.
And the experience itself is just pure magic. You can motor along the coast, find a tiny cove like Calamariolu, drop anchor, and just jump into water so electric blue it seems radioactive.
And you're alone. It's complete silence except for the water lapping against the boat, enjoying a bottle of chilled local Vermentino in that context.
Yeah.
That's an emotional, high-reward moment.
And my best moment was that logistical and culinary triumph tied directly to the agriturismo hack, finding the agriturismo il muto di Gladura inland. You have to follow handwritten signs and drive deep into this remote cork forest, passing just granite outcrops and sheep. It feels like you're driving off the edge of the map.
And the reward for that effort.
Yeah.
2 hours of continuous, generous, heartfelt Sardinian cooking. The host just brings dish after dish, the roast pig, the traditional pasta, and the final moment is when the bill arrives and you realize that despite the stunning quality, the final price is just shockingly, almost comically low.
That feeling of finding the true, authentic heart of the island is the ultimate reward.
It is. But on the flip side, we have to be fair and talk about the disappointments, the moments where the hype outweighed the experience.
Number 1, Porto Cervo proper. The actual village and marina are frequently described as feeling soulless.
Yeah, less like an Italian town and more like a carefully designed outdoor shopping mall for yacht owners. It just lacks any genuine sense of place.
I saw a description that called it Dubai with slightly better architecture, and the cost-to-quality ratio is offensive. I remember that anecdote about an €8 scoop of mediocre gelato.
You just feel like you're being constantly charged for the privilege of standing there.
And the second disappointment was visiting a hyped beach like La Pelosa in August. Visually, it's stunning with that iconic tower, but the experience was described as a beautiful prison.
The sensory overload is immense. You're touching strangers, dealing with loud noise, constantly hearing whistles from lifeguards enforcing strict rules, and you're struggling to find space for your €5 straw mat. The overcrowding just ruins the beauty. You can't relax.
So if the high effort and the traps of Sardinia sound like too much work, we have 3 clear alternatives with different trade-offs.
Option 1, Corsica. The island directly to the north, a short ferry ride away. It's the French counterpart, though Corsicans are fiercely Corsican first.
Corsica has even more dramatic scenery. Huge mountains plunging directly into the sea, a much wilder landscape. It's less yachty, more about rugged adventure.
The major drawback. The roads are universally cited as being even worse than Sardinia's, and the service can be gruffer than in Italy.
Option 2, Puglia, the heel of Italy. If your priority is food and easy movement, this is compelling.
Puglia offers incredible luxury for about 30% less. You stay in masseria hotels, beautifully converted, fortified farmhouses. The food is often cited as better than Sardinia's, and the logistics are easier because the terrain is flat.
The caveat.
The beaches, while beautiful, don't quite match the spectacular granite-framed turquoise coves of Sardinia.
And option 3, Majorca, Spain. If your priority is modern convenience and easy access,
Majorca has way better flight connections, much better infrastructure, and far easier driving. You can still find luxury and great beaches. The trade-off is that it's much more developed and built up. It completely lacks that wild frontier feeling you get in Sardinia.
And for the traveler who has 10 days and wants the ultimate adventure, we strongly recommend the combo itinerary. Northern Sardinia paired with southern Corsica.
You can take the short ferry from Santa Teresa Gallura in Sardinia, right across to Bonifacio in Corsica. You get two distinct cultures, two unique cuisines, and the same stretch of amazing electric blue ocean. It maximizes your reward.
Okay, we've reached the final conclusion. Is Sardinia worth it? We've created a matrix based on traveler profiles to give a definitive answer.
Let's start with the backpacker, or budget traveler.
The verdict here is yes, but it requires substantial work. This island is not designed for backpacking. Hostels are rare, the bus network is unreliable, it's a real logistical struggle.
But the payoff of accessing that pristine, free nature like hiking to a remote cove immensely rewards that effort.
Next up, the mid-range couple, the sweet spot.
The verdict is a resounding, unqualified yes. This is the best way to do it. Rent the small Fiat Panda. Stay in B&Bs or agriturismos. Rent a self-drive boat for one day.
You achieve 90% of the billionaire experience, the quiet, the view, the water, the food, for maybe 10% of the cost.
Next, a family trip.
This is a cautious ailer. Yes, you have to be strategic. Stick to the south, areas like Costa Rey, where the beaches are sandy and shallow. The rocky north is just too difficult.
And it's a very hard trip with toddlers because of the heat and the driving. But if your kids are teens, they will absolutely love the adventure.
And finally, the luxury traveler, the target audience.
The verdict is, only if you crave absolute privacy over white glove service. If you're expecting Four Seasons Maldives service, you might be disappointed by the more laid-back Italian style, even at $4,000 a night.
But if luxury to you means complete solitude, silence, a private villa with an unbeatable view, and no interference, then yes, that isolation is unbeatable in Europe.
So wrapping up the final overall verdict, Sardinia is undeniably a high-effort, high-reward destination. It demands respect for its unique wildness, its scale, and its many logistical challenges.
It is absolutely not a flop-and-drop destination where you land and never leave the resort. If you want the true Sardinian experience, the food, the wildness, the silence, you have to actively and deliberately earn it. But the reward, that immense, pristine natural beauty, is spectacular.
Before we sign off, the single, crucial, actionable item that will define your trip, regardless of budget, and we have to say it one last time, book your rental car 6 months in advance. Seriously, do not wait. You'll pay a massive premium and risk not finding an automatic car.
And this leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over as you consider this trip. Given that the spectacular nature, the remote location, and the resulting silence are the true luxuries Sardinia sells, what is the actual price you are willing to pay for absolute privacy in our incredibly crowded world? Is Sardinia successfully selling isolation, or is it just selling a brand name attached to isolation?
That's a deep dive for another day.
See you in the next one.